All right, welcome back to the Run.down post-game show here on the Strickland YouTube channel. And if you're listening to this today after Strickland Podcast Network, and if you're watching this on Twitter, Strickland Twitter, I'm Sam. I'm joined by Schwinn. The Knicks win another summer league game, 91-90 versus the Detroit Pistons summer league team. The summer league Knicks, they have a tendency to make us be on the edge of our seats for all of these games, it seems.
It's like the Sixers series again.
Yep, all over again. Just competitive game after competitive game after competitive game.
But luckily, I don't care. Like I'm just like, wow. The only thing that I have been getting upset about at all is Dwayne Washington Jr. The rest of it, I'm just like, whatever, it's fine.
Are you more upset at him because of what he's doing in summer league, or because he's an Ohio State alum?
I didn't know he was an Ohio State alum until like 2 days ago. So no, not I. I mean, that just enhances it. But I mean, I don't even know. Today, I don't actually think it's crazy to say the only reason this game was close down the stretch is because of him.
Yeah, he started off the game 5 for 5 and then went 5 and ended the game like what 5 for 12 or 5 for 13, some shit like that. Like,
it was
absolutely bizarre. Before we get into the rest of this, BetOnline is your number one source for all your sports betting needs this season. From baseball, golf, soccer, right to all the top fights in UFC, MMA, and boxing. Every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads while the games are being played. When the game's over, head on over to our online casino and get in on the game of blackjack or poker, or unwind with one of our over 150 slot games. Head to the website today to get in on the action. Use promo code BLEAV, that's BLEAV, for your 50% free bet credit on your first deposit up to $250. Bet online, the game starts here. All right, so I mean, these last couple summer league games, I think the encouraging developments that we've seen the most so far have been from, of course, Kolek, showing that balance of the scoring and the passing. A lot of the emphasis was on the passing in the first couple games, and more so now he's scoring, especially down the stretch of these games. I'd also say Rokas Yakubaitis. His play has been pretty encouraging as of late as well, and one Dmitro Skapintsev, who you are Skapintsev. There we go. I didn't know how to say it before, but Skapintsev. Those three players have been very encouraging in their time here on the Summer League Knicks team. As you can see under my name, White Guys, they're having a moment right now for the Summer League Knicks. So, yeah. I think I'm really intrigued most, of course, by Skapintsev just because of our big man situation. There's obviously something there with Skapintsev. Gave you 17, 10, 2 assists, a steal, and 3 blocks today. Was key down the stretch, setting up those screens, getting Tyler Kolek open, getting guys opportunities. He had a nice offensive rebound down the stretch as well. Just really encouraging stuff to see from him, and just wondering what that leads to for him if he ends up on the main squad or not. Schwinn?
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely liked what I've seen from him so far. One thing to mention is he is 26, so he's older than a lot of the guys he's going up against, which is an advantage. His touch and all that stuff is really good. He seems to have a nice little jumper. Not sure it's consistently out to 3, but he at least has a mid-range game. And defensively, he's actually been solid. I've been genuinely surprised because I just assume. I don't know. I mean, you're a 26-year-old big man. You're still hovering around at this level. I'm just assuming defense might not be part of your game. But he's been pretty solid on defense. I think his pick and roll coverage has been a lot better than I expected for the most part. And yeah, I mean, I thought he played well. I think he's played well in every game. You could probably argue he's been the Knicks' most consistent player through Summer League. Does that make him an NBA player or somebody that I don't know, but I think that he's done enough where you'd be like, hey, give him a camp invite. He was with Westchester last year, so I'm assuming they have plenty of intel to make an informed decision on him one way or the other. But yeah, I mean, I would probably, if you're just basing it off Summer League from what we've seen, yeah, he's definitely worth a camp invite. But yeah, I thought he had a really good game. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's not much else to say other than that. He showed a nice kind of all-around game. The only thing I would say is he doesn't seem to be much of a passer, which it's fine. Again, you're a 26-year-old big man. I'm not expecting you to be super well-rounded and have everything in your bag. But yeah, definitely impressed with what he's seen with what he's shown through 4 games.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll see what happens with him. Area Hug Porty also gave you some good minutes today as well, 11 and 8. So the Knicks big man situation is still evolving. Precious Achiuwa, we're still waiting to see what happens on that front with him. But yeah. Anything else that stuck out to you today? Because I mean, it's been a lot of the same stuff from a lot of these guys the last couple games. Like they've been consistently, I guess, improving on what we've seen. Kolek really had that really nice game last game. I wasn't on post game for that one, but it was really good to see him have the scoring with the passing. Because I think one thing that, like, if he's too pass happy, I think teams would scout for that more, and it's good to see that he has that balance as well. And that's something that we saw from him in college. So it's good to see it at least starting to translate a little bit over now in Summer League. But anything else that stuck out to you? Any other players or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I thought Dadier had a nice game today. Offensively, anyway, I thought he showed a lot in terms of his. I mean, it's stuff that we've seen already. His off-ball movement is really good. He just kind of got the ball today on a couple of those where he's able to finish. The 3-point shot still eludes him. I don't know. He actually mentioned this after the first game, right, where he's like the distances, or he's like adjusting to it, and he was short on on both the threes he missed tonight. I think he only took 2. Mm-hmm. Short on the last one down the stretch, but like, yeah. So I don't know. Like, I don't know. There's really nothing for me to be worried about with him because I never expect him to play for the actual Knicks this year. I mean, when he first literally when they drafted him, I was like, all right, they're probably going to stash him. Obviously, that's not the case here, but yeah, he's not going to play for the big Knicks this year, so it's whatever. Aside from that, I mean, look, I thought generally everybody on this team that has been getting minutes is playing together and all that stuff, and then you have Dwayne Washington Jr., who I can't stand watching him play. Like I don't know what else to say. He's the only guy this entire summer league that is like making me want to like throw my remote at the wall, because it's just everybody else. I'm just like, whatever. This guy, he sucks. This guy is missing shots. Not a big deal. And him, it's just there's so many possessions you're watching where he'll bring the ball up, look guys off, and then he goes and tries to do something by himself. It's just like, dude, like I don't get how you think this is. I don't know. To me, it's just like, if you're trying to make an NBA team, this is not the way, man. This is just not the way to do it. So.
But yeah. It was the way once, Schwinn. And that's the thing, is lots of people long for a time when this was the way. By the way, I am not sober, so let's fucking go. Like,
it's a good time of podcast.
Oh yeah. Couldn't think of a better thing to do than talk to you fellas about this summer league team.
But yeah, Dwayne Washington Jr. I mean, this is what he's done since Sierra Canyon. Just score the ball. Really nothing else. Even though Ohio State, just a scorer. That's all he really is. So I mean, the Knicks don't really need much of that anymore on this team. They need guys that are going to play roles, and I mean, he already has a two-way spot.
Sam, how shitty was this game for you, knowing you couldn't just place a live parlay? Scale of 1 to 10, how bad were you itching for it?
I don't itch that bad for summer league.
Live he's got his MLB parlays going every night right now.
I do like the summer league pregame bets. Those are going pretty okay so far. Hit a couple, but nice.
When your future wife is like, so what are you doing today now that you're not teaching? Are you just like waiting for October to get the parlays going again, or what's that conversation like?
I mean, I'm doing summer camp now, so I mean, I'm still working with kids, so there's always that.
Sam, I've missed you, buddy. It's been months. I haven't seen you in so long.
I know it's been a while.
It's been a minute.
But here we are talking summer league Knicks.
Yeah, I mean, I thought Kolek, obviously, look, the scoring thing with him, he's got to figure out, like,
The balance.
It's like he's got to figure out the balance, but the passing is absolutely fucking ridiculous with him. I can't believe he only ended up with 7 assists because most of that had to do with the fact that every time like he was on the floor with Dwayne Washington was like, it's my time to go here. But his passing was, I mean, honestly, unbelievable. That one he had where he like had the push through dribble with his right and then threw a fucking, I don't know what the hell he did. He did like a spun in the air like 270 degrees and found, I don't even know, somebody in the corner for a 3. That
Dwayne
was crazy. Was it
That
Dwayne
was
Washington?
insane.
Yeah, it was their
like
guy.
if all Dwayne Washington did is just play off ball, I'd be fine with that. Like I actually understand the idea of like you can tell that nobody else on this roster has any kind of
Creation juice.
yeah, exactly. So you need somebody that can fulfill that role.
He just does it to like the
he just does it to the most ridiculous degree, and it's a waste of time, and he hijacks the offense, he slows everything down. Like we were talking in our game in the Discord today during the game, and like the way I can describe it is the highest level of like team basketball he plays is if he gets the ball and slows it down and then runs a pick and roll with somebody, and it like basically turns into a 2-on-2. Other than that, it's just like him out there on his own. It's honestly ridiculous to watch it. So I don't know. I could do without any more Dwayne Washington in my life. So apparently that doesn't seem like it's going to happen. We'll get one more game of this and then hopefully never again. But yeah, I thought obviously Kolek had a nice game. Rokas had a nice game off the bench. The shot wasn't as, I mean, he was automatic last game. He was 7-7, not as well from the field today, but I think he showed that like he's got some chops. I don't think he has lead guard or true point guard game or whatever, but his size is pretty nice. I could see him as a combo guard. He's somebody who like look.
So like Dragic light, Schwinn?
He's basically Dragic, but better is how I'd probably phrase it. No, but like I think he's a guy. The Knicks don't.
I was being serious, Schwinn. I was being.
He has some of that to him, and like I think that there's there's no space on them for the roster this year, which is completely fine. Like the Knicks, you're not going to be able to roster everybody. That's fine. Tell them to go over to Europe for another year. It's cool. And then like next year, I'm assuming they'll be able to have space for him because, I would guess that they're not going to end up with the same exact amount of guys on the roster, et cetera, et cetera. But he's somebody I would definitely feel comfortable with now, having seen him for more extended minutes than we did the last time he came over for Summer League, where you're like, okay, this guy probably has something to him. He's played pro ball. Let's see what he does in another year in Europe, hopefully on a team that isn't like sabotaging his minutes, and go from there. But he's looked good. And like, if they hadn't signed Campaign and they just signed him off the strength of the Summer League, I'd have been fine with that too. Personally, like, I think there's probably a rush from some people to be like, why do they even sign Campaign if they have him? Look, if you're in the position the Knicks are in, you kind of will probably tend to value a level of, I know what this guy gives me versus let's take a shot on this dude who looked good in Europe and looked good in Summer League and like, but he's never going to play. So, it's one of those weird things, but look, there's also a chance, he's played well in Summer League. The key thing with Summer League, and so I don't understand why Dwayne Washington's playing like a gigantic asshole, other than the fact that this is just how he plays, is that like, you're not really just auditioning for the team you're on. Like every team is watching these games. So it's not like if Rokas has played well, it's not just because the Knicks don't have a spot for him. There could be teams out there that are like, you know what? Like we have 5, like if you're the Jazz, you have 5 billion second round picks or something. If you like him, you could be like, hey, we'll throw you a couple if you want. Not our good ones because I'm Danny Ainge, but we will throw you a couple. And take like, it's just a scenario like that where it could happen. So, either way, I think this is a player now where I don't know if he was worth, the Knicks draft slot or however the fuck you want to put it, but I'd be surprised if there was like nobody else. It's not like we're the only front office in the league that saw value in this guy. I'd put it that way. I'd be surprised if there are not more teams in the league, having watched him now up close and probably over in Europe too, that are like, all right, this guy might have a chance to be a decent, solid bench guard for, XYZ number of years.
Schwinn, how high does Danny Ainge fall on your most hated NBA list, and who is number 1 ever?
Oh, ever? I don't know. That's tough KD's probably number one all time. He's up there.
That's so wild. What did Katie ever do to you? He helped the Knicks by not signing with.
I agree. That's the one good thing about his career that I appreciate. No, I don't like him. I think he's a miserable person. I think he basically has been miserable since going to Golden State because he's the only person in the world that thought he was going to go there and be like, dude, you were never going to win there, and it was going to become your team. That was never going to happen. Like the fact that you thought that was a thing tells me you're dumb. Like you might think you're very, very smart, and maybe you're smarter than me because I'm dumb too. But as a dumb person, I know you're dumb. And that was a dumb decision. And his agent, Rich Kleiman, is a moron who has ran his career, not into the ground, but look, man, you think about where he was in the kind of consciousness of basketball when he left Golden State to where he is now, where you're like, so you want to go you destroyed two franchises and have won two playoff series, I forgot. And your big claim to fame in the last 5 years is if only your gigantic foot wasn't as big, you could have gone to the Eastern Conference Finals. Like, I'm sorry. I've always thought he's an overrated player in the historic sense of the word. Not, he's obviously been a great player in his career, but I've never bought. I think the people that call him a unanimous top 10, top 15 guy are being ridiculous when you look at it in the lens of the history of basketball.
Do you think Dirk had a better career than him?
Yeah, absolutely. Not even close to me.
And
you win a championship like that.
And Garnett too.
Sadly, yes.
I appreciate that you went Woj there, Schwinn, and you shouted out his agent.
Yeah. Shout out
Agent Rich Kleinman.
Yeah, that's the guy who ruined this. Well, yeah, I mean, look, Ainge is up there though. Ainge he's above Riley for me probably at this point, where I'm just like Riley's just like he's very much in his late season 6 junior soprano phase of not knowing what the fuck is going on. So I can't even like hate him anymore. I'm just kind of like, dude, is it how can we just say that Eric Spoelstra's carrying you at this point? Is that okay? But yeah, like I don't know. Ainge is he's just such an annoying person to deal with, and I hate that like everybody in the basketball media is just like defers to his kind of how he presents things, like Walker Kessler. This guy's fucking amazing. I'm like, if he's so amazing, why is Danny Ainge trying to trade him? Like, can we ask that question? Are we not allowed to do that? No? Okay. And then the whole marketing thing is hilarious. Like, oh, we'll totally keep him. You're gonna keep him, and you have you owe a top 10 protected pick in a draft that everybody in the world thinks is gonna be fucking amazing. All right, bud. Yeah, I got a bridge I want to sell you too. Like, give me a break, man. Like seriously, if I didn't tell you this, if I haven't I talked about this on the pod multiple times, but how many times have you heard anybody mention that Utah has a very, very specific like need to tank this year because they do owe a top 10 protect, not even a need, but a vested interest in tanking this year because they owe a top 10 protected pick. Nobody mentions that. And I'm like, this feels like very relevant to, if the whole point is like gaining leverage and shit, like, if I'm sitting there and I'm the Warriors and I've made whatever offer I've made, I'd be like, all right, buddy, like, we're not going to give you everything. We made a legitimate offer. If you want to roll the dice and play out your season with Markkanen and all these guys, and go for it. And also, like, if you're Markkanen, like, do you think this is 27 now? Do you think he wants to sit around there and just be like, oh yeah, sorry, we got to tank this one more year. But after this year, we're totally going to try. And it's like, but sign this extension, by the way. Like, why the fuck would I do that? Especially when you know how this guy operates, where he's like, if I sign this extension, he will not trade me for less than like every pick that, like the Nets have now, or the Rockets have, or the Thunder have. Like, I'm not going to be able to move anywhere. I'm stuck here. I think that there's a lot going on there. Danny Ainge can suck it. Him and Kevin Durant, top two most hated. This is awesome. Danny Ainge is the type of friend where he'll only go out if you buy drinks for him.
Yeah, that is definitely Danny Ainge.
Yeah.
All right, we also got some other comments here that I will get to if my computer will do me any favors at this point, which is not. I can't see any comments. Oh, there
I
we
can
go.
see comments. There we go. Let's
You
go.
can?
I can see comments.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, I can see comments now. All right. So we got some comments here. Nemo, our good friend Nemo, he says our second year will roll with Jalen Brunson as a relief point guard for Tyler. Which brings me to a point. Do we think Tyler actually gets some minutes with the big club this year?
Some minutes? Yes. He will get some minutes.
Let me rephrase that. Will he get like actual like rotation, like 8 to 10 minutes type of action this year per game?
He'll play when an injury happens. He'll be an option when an injury happens. But I'd actually be surprised if, like, let's say one of Brunson, DiVincenzo, Mikal Bridges, like one of the guards or Deuce got hurt early. I'd be surprised if Tibbs went to Kolek before he went to Campaign. I think Campaign's going to get the first shot at that shift. But I think that I don't think Campaign's gonna hold that down. That's just it's Campaign. And then two, enough injuries happen that I think that Kolek will eventually get some sort of spot minutes throughout the season. But this idea that like he's gonna take Deuce's spot, that would be absurd. And I love Kolek. I like Kolek a lot. Like he's been really good. But do people not remember how impactful and helpful Deuce was last season? Like that's a slap in the face to Deuce McBride.
Yeah, I think I like what he showed in Summer League. I mean, we've seen this with a lot of guys. Like Summer League is Summer League, and like look, Marcus Sasser tonight looked like fucking amazing player. And I think Sasser has a chance to be a really good NBA player. But like, think about what we saw of him throughout his time in Detroit last year, where there were good moments, there were terrible moments. Like the NBA is very different than Summer League. And Kolek looking good now is nice. His defense has been bad, which again, I don't really care about that as far as evaluating him right now, because I assumed his defense was going to be bad, and that was his rep coming in. But yeah, like to Jeff's point, Deuce McBride played a lot of quality minutes for the Knicks last year. I don't want to say sacrifice because that's the wrong word, but he definitely played a lot of roles. He was versatile in a way to help the team out, which maybe not is his preference, but he was willing to do and play different positions and roles. And he did it well. And he played well in the playoffs, especially in that Philadelphia series, right? He was awesome in that series. And he had a great game 5 against the Pacers. Like, I think it would be crazy to just be like, well, Kolek can pass, and therefore, no, it's, and at the end of the day, like, I just genuinely really strongly feel this. Your backup point guard is not who needs to be like the stir that straws the drink of your offense when Brunson sits. Like, if we're assuming like Randle is going to be back and Randle's on the floor in those non-Brunson minutes, or Bridges or whoever, like those guys are going to be the ones that drive the success of that group offensively. So I don't really give and let's be real. We've all watched plenty of Julius Randle. Do you seriously think Julius Randle is going to come out and
let the white boy cook?
Yeah, he's just gonna be like, oh, Tyler Kolek, like, yeah, I'll set hard screens for you and roll. Like, that's not gonna happen. Like, he's gonna fucking go set a screen for him, half-ass it, and then roll to the elbow with his hand up, and Tyler Kolek is gonna get really good at throwing. And Tyler Kolek is gonna get really good at throwing entry passes, and like that's fine. Like, I'm just saying, the reality is those units are gonna sink or swim with probably Randle and or Bridges. Like, those are the guys I imagine will be tasked with carrying the offense when Brunson sits. So to me, as much as I and I'm not trying to downplay what Kolek has done or the fact that I really like him. It just like we know who our coach is. And this is also not like the Knicks are trying to compete. There's no ambiguity about that now. They're very, very much trying to contend. Generally speaking, contending teams do not
let rookie point guards run the show.
Yeah, and I'll say the last thing I'll say about that is like I don't know if you guys have watched any of the Wolves during Summer League. Rob Dillingham's a really talented player. I think they are
out of their damn mind.
I think they're going to experience Yeah, if the plan is like he's our backup point guard and he's going to run the offense, like I'm sorry, like they're in for some pain, and like maybe it'll be worth it at the back end of the season because he'll be developed and whatever. But I'm just saying, like rookies on contending teams usually do not do what Derek Lively did, for example. That is like the exception that proves the rule versus the norm.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the rookie. I think a lot of people look at the Derek Lively thing and they think, hey, our rookie's gonna come here and be as impactful as he was. I mean, God bless Tyler Kolek if he does end up being that, but I don't think he will, just because the opportunity he'll be presented with. But yeah, I mean, I think of when I think of second units, I also think of like the Celtics when like they have their second unit out there. Like Peyton Pritchard's not directly like running the show or anything when he's out there as the backup point guard per se, but like they have him like shooting threes and shit like that. So it's like even if Tyler Kolek were to get some run with that second unit, he's gonna be like spot up shooter and stuff like that in those cases. And I mean, he can do that. He can shoot, like he can score. So like that's not an issue. It's just people probably would be pissed that he's not being utilized in the same ways as he's being utilized in summer league, which I think people just have to accept at that point.
The thing that Schwinn said that was just perfect and exactly right is that when these second units happen and Brunson isn't on the court and it's Randall or it's Bridges or it's OG Anunoby or Dante DiVincenzo or fucking even Josh Hart, none of these guys are going to be like, oh, it's Deuce McBride out there, so I'm going to run the show. And then, oh, it's Cam Payne out there, I'm going to cede to Cam Payne. No, it's going to be or Tyler Kolek even. And this isn't disrespect to those guys. It's going to be exactly the same. Bridges, Hart, Julius Randle, OG Anunoby, Dante DiVincenzo, these guys are all way better and way more established. All of those guys are higher in the pecking order, and they should be. And the team would be making a gigantic mistake if they were like, well, Deuce McBride's good at a lot of things, but I just prefer how Cam Payne or Tyler Kolek can set the table. That's ridiculous. That's preposterous. Like, that's terrible. It's fucking ludicrous.
I also don't think Tibbs would ever, like, I just can't see Tibbs. Like, there's no way that's his mindset.
I know, but there's people on Twitter who are like, oh, I like Deuce, but he's not a true point guard. Like, shut the fuck up, man. Like, seriously, I'm so sick of this shit. Do they not see the guy who was in the playoffs playing really good defense and he shot 43% from three or something last year? Who cares if he's a true point guard? They don't need him to be a true point guard. When you have Jalen Brunson on your team, all you need is somebody who can, like, do the things that Deuce McBride does. Why are we trying to do more or something different? Why at that level of defense? Why at that level of impact are we trying to make the player worse so that they can set the table? Like, this is how you get Elfrid Payton starting for 70 games in a season if you obsess over this fucking bullshit. This is how you're, like, just stop it already. It's so stupid. Yeah, I like Kolek a lot, and I think Kolek can be really good. I think Kolek can be good in a different way that Deuce can be good. And, like, I trust Tibbs. I trust the front office to identify that moment. But all I'm saying is let's not get ahead of ourselves and be like, yeah, I know Deuce is a better overall player, but he's not a true point guard, so we need to jump the gun. Let's play the best player. Please. Sorry.
Well said.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Well said. Let's see. We also have some comments. A lot of fans of Scap in the comments. Chris Bernhardt, he says, I wouldn't be shocked if Skapintsev gets a look sometime in the season if our centers are dead / Jericho Sims. I think he also got some run. Well, I wouldn't call it some run. I'd say he got tossed in for like a minute or two this year when the team was kind of depleted. So yeah, I mean, it seems like the Knicks really at least like the kid. He's been in Westchester. They brought him back for another summer league. So, and he's shown some improvement. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely look. I'll say this: I don't know what Jericho Sims would be doing in summer league. I feel like he would not be doing as good a job as Skapintsev is,
or even Hook Porty.
Yeah, I'm so out on Jericho Sims, dude. The guy he's I'm sure he's a good practice player, and that's the nicest thing I could say about him. Yeah. Aldi Joka is asking, I don't get it. Are we saying Randall's presence fixes this? Because we saw for a large amount of games, non-Brunson minutes killing the team. No, I'm saying that, like, that's to me, like, what fixes that is up to Randall, up to Bridges, those two guys very specifically. It's up to those guys. If they cannot do it, the thing that's going to fix it to me is, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe the Knicks have, maybe the front office has various analytics that are telling them, like, actually, if we do trade Deuce and Kolek comes in, that will turn the second unit into a juggernaut again. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's true. But my gut instinct would be like, that's really not what's going to happen. And I think, like, look, if you wanted to point to, like, well, you know, when we had Quick, those minutes without Brunson were really good. I would say that's true, but I also don't think they were good. They were never, to me, that good offensively in those non-Brunson minutes. They were good because
defensively.
Yeah, they were just good. They were solid enough offensively and good on defense, so that made them a net positive. But the offense was never, like, so strong or anything. And if, like, that's ultimately, to me, where you need to end up. Can you end up in that with Bridges and Randall anchoring non-Brunson minutes? I would hope so, because
they fucking better.
Yeah, like you paid a lot of asset value out the door to make that happen. So I'm assuming that is the bet. I'd be shocked if that's not the bet. And if they're wrong on that, then they have big problems, and that's what it is.
Dude, if Deuce, Dante, Hart, and then and Randall, and then a big, or like one of Bridges and OG isn't crushing opponents,
they should.
Something has gone horribly wrong. Like,
right.
I think even Knicks fans don't appreciate how fucking good this team is. I'm sorry, I know I'm drunk, but this team is amazing. Like, this team is really good. And I don't know. I'm already preparing myself for next May. No, I don't give a shit about that. next May, when it's like, oh, let's appreciate this upstart group of gritty tryhards who really overachieve. Fuck off. Let's expect this team to win a championship, please. This is such a good team. Like, I can't.
The tryhard thing only even applied last year because we literally had, like, guys die every other day. But, like, you're not there anymore. Like, I'm sorry, you can't trade out all your first and be like, yeah, we're just a gritty group, try hard guys. Like, no, that's just not how it works. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's so frustrating. And yeah, this team is really good. And your point, like, this bench unit should crush. It should absolutely dismantle opponents, just like it did when Quickly was here. I know everyone knows I love Quickly, but nice. That's kind of a compliment, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a great compliment.
Yeah.
With me, I'm just like,
dude, I actually really like his follow-up comment. That'd be funny if I was just getting shit-faced every night on here because of the Knicks.
That was the 21-22 season.
For sure.
Dude, that was me and Sam on the 2022 season, just drowning our sorrows.
Another game, Alec Brooks. He certainly did things as a point guard.
Dude, me and Sam would get on here and people would, like, yell at us for not being more positive, and we would just be like, shut the fuck up, dude. We have to talk about this team every night.
That season was miserable.
This is from JK. He said, is it insane to be worried about Kolek's screen navigation / general defense? Feel like it will keep him off the floor year one. What do you think, Sam?
I mean, defense was never really something that was Kolek's calling card. So, I mean, yeah, if you're worried about something keeping him off the floor in year one, it's definitely going to be defense. Tibbs wants to see defense, and all the people that are, like, clamoring for, like, him to take Deuce's minutes, it's like Deuce gives you great point of attack defense, and you're losing a ton of that if Kolek is going to replace him essentially on the court. So.
Yeah. I haven't played. I'm sorry. After this, I got a reply to some tweet I made about Dwayne Washington. This was from Mencho. This is at Adelpha is not dead. He said Dwayne plays like if the PlayStation joystick, or I'm assuming the controller he means, is missing the X button.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Definitely. I mean, even when he does pass, it's like the worst pass possible. It turns into a turnover. I swear every time he tried to pass the ball, it was a turnover.
He tried that one to Daddy in the corner, and I was just like, immediately the guy just grabbed it. I was like, are you kidding me, dude? Like, he's just enough Dwayne Washington. That's all I can say. Yeah, and I mean the Kolek defense thing is this is pretty clearly because of I'll say this, if Kolek could play defense, then this conversation of like, well, would you want to start him, like, would you play him over Deuce? It would be a lot more warranted. But it's summer league, and there are plenty of times I'm watching him and I'm like, dude, he is struggling out here on defense. The funny thing is they were attacking Dwayne Washington in the minutes that him and Kolek were on the floor together in the second half, and I enjoyed that a lot. I enjoyed that thoroughly. And then finally, Dice pulled Dwayne Washington, and then the Knicks won the game. That was great. I enjoyed that turn of events quite a bit.
Yeah,
Dice is kind of awesome. His ATOs and stuff.
Yeah. I didn't like the timeout at the end. I mean, again, I don't really care about the shit, but I thought just let them foul you there. But that ATO was weird. That was a pretty quick 5 seconds. I'll say that. I was like, really? That's a 5-second violation? But yeah, he had one for Dadier in the second half that was awesome. It was at 85-84, I think, called timeout, and Dadier got a dunk or a layup right out of it. It was wide open under the hoop. But yeah, he's had some really good ATOs and just set plays. So he definitely cooks up some stuff. And I will like he's been the summer league coach, I think, for all 3 summer leagues we've had under this regime. I mean, I'm not gonna go back and watch past summer league to verify this, but I do feel like he has the sets and all that stuff is a little bit cleaner now. So maybe you're seeing him develop himself as a coach as well.
Yeah. I look, the coaching thing is, we did the Johnny Bryant thing. That was like the funniest era ever. Was all the Knicks fans being like, yeah, Johnny Bryant's waiting in the wings. I just know he's a good coach. Like, I'm not saying he's a bad coach. We just don't fucking know, man. We have no
coaching
idea.
Is the hardest thing.
It's the hardest thing to judge. Like
Fizdale, he's like, he's been on Spo's bench for years. He worked his way up. He worked his way up in Miami's organization. How could you doubt him?
Dude, LeBron liked him. He must be a good coach if LeBron likes him.
Yeah. Rudderless roster. Rudderless roster.
I feel like once a week when I need a laugh, I look at that Fizdale down 40 picture where he's smiling. That's gotta be one of the funniest things I've ever seen. Like that's the
funniest thing is like opening night, his clipboard said together. His clipboard said together. Like that's all it said on it.
Just a lot of great coaching from that guy. Was it? Is it Jeff Teague? No, it was Alfred Payton on Jeff Teague's podcast. Yeah, it was just like he just was like, dude, I had no idea.
He was watching MLK speeches in practice. I was like, what the hell?
He's like, bro, just drop the play, man.
God, we get Emmanuel Mudiay. We gonna get you right.
Yeah, I can just imagine like Tibbs coming in and hearing some of these like Fizdale stories from the guys that were still there. Was just like, are you fucking serious?
Yeah. What the fuck?
Yeah, we're gonna work on this set actually for the next 35 minutes. That's what we're gonna do today.
Dog. Vivek, he says to swap Dwayne Washington Jr.'s two-way with Baugh. Swap Jacobs with Skopinsev. How do we feel about getting rid of Washington and Toppin for actual players?
Washington has to be like a industry plant or something, man. This guy can't be getting any type of NBA contract.
He's from Sierra Canyon. You know, they have some sort of blood ties with the NBA with all the mid talent that they keep bringing in.
Got some fucking blood ties to the devil if he stays in the NBA. I'll tell you that. I mean, look, I would do that for sure. Jacob Toppin, the odds are he's nothing special. It actually sucks that he got hurt. I thought he had some nice moments. I know he missed that fucking layup at the end of what was it, game 1. But like I don't know. I thought he was playing fine. I had no problem with him. He looked better than what I remember him. He played under Summer League last year. Or no, he got hurt. But he looked fine to me. And you know, he has to shoot threes. He refused to do that throughout a lot of the Summer League. But like, I mean, if they kept him on a 2-way, I wouldn't be upset about that. I think he's fine. They have three 2-ways, right? So they only used, I think only one guy signed up on a two-way right now, if I remember.
I think it's Toppin and Huck Porty so far.
So two. So then two. So we have one more two-way to give out.
Dwayne Washington Jr. is fighting hard as hell to get that last one.
Yeah, it's fighting hard, not smart.
But yeah, we'll see what happens with the two-way situation. What else we got here? So someone asked a funny question, or not? I don't know. Schwinn, they were asking about it was your namesake. If you could find the comment, pull it up.
Yeah, right here at the top.
About the net, not the Nets, stupid New Jersey teams, the Sixers.
Yeah, I can find it. One sec.
Holy shit.
If New Jersey acquires the 76ers, Philly should have to throw in draft picks to compensate New Jersey for taking that loser franchise. That would be great. I would love that. I was like thinking, because the Angels are like this in baseball, right? They're the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that so? They'd be like the Philadelphia 76ers of Camden. So we could get.
I believe so.
But their practice facility is in Camden, so it's like I think Camden is 4.5 miles or something like that from downtown Philly. So it's right there. I mean, I can't believe this is like a real thing, because I'm pretty sure Philly owns. Do they own the stadium or are they renting? If they're leasing it, then I could see why maybe this is a real thing.
I think they're leasing it.
Maybe. Who knows?
I think they're leasing it because I saw a report during the playoffs about like the Wells Fargo's employees like on strike.
That's right.
Arena workers were on strike. And someone had mentioned in like one of the tweets about like, oh, the 76ers, they're so shitty for this or whatever. But like they're talking about how like the Sixers are leasing it. They're not in charge of like the Wells Fargo arena workers and the reason why they're on strike. So yeah, they are leasing it. And there are some issues with their workers not being rightfully paid, I guess. So yeah. But that would be interesting for them to be in New Jersey. I'd find a way to go there and hate watch Embiid in person.
You'd go all the way. What is that? That's South Jersey, right? You'd go all the way to South Jersey to do that?
It's not too bad from here.
Just hop on that. Take the train?
Yeah, go and hate watch Embiid in person.
It'd be cheaper than going to the Garden.
Oh, for sure. Definitely.
Then again, you could get like nice single A price tickets over in Brooklyn, so you could do that too.
Yeah. We also got a hashtag loan out Rokas in the chat. I saw someone under. I think it was under your tweet.
Yeah, it was him. About, like,
it was him.
Yeah.
So yeah, talking about loaning a player. That would be really cool if the NBA, like, I mean, I know they're doing this whole Emirates Cup now, like they're really embracing the soccer of it all. Why not go full soccer and do loans too?
Yeah, so, I mean, loans would be great. I know that there's cap. The cap is its own thing here, so yeah. I mean, it's not. It'd be fun. It'd be cool. Go send him to like, fucking go send him to like Detroit for a year. Be like, dude, just give them somebody who knows how to play basketball for 1 year. Ron Holland had a really nice fourth quarter. I can't say that I have been too impressed with what I've seen of him so far, but this is all I've ever seen of him. So I'm not trying to judge these guys too much on that. I will say Alex Sarr, man. Yeah.
Brutal. Not looking good for the French revolution that these guys want to have in the NBA.
I know he wasn't drafted.
I want to say two things about Sarr real quick. One, I did like 15 minutes of draft research, and I did not understand why everyone had him at the top of their boards. And like, I'm not saying I'm right, but it's like people still don't understand how important shooting is. Like, I get it. It was like they were like, yeah, he's like this 4'5" tweener who can't really do anything on offense. But like, if he learns how to play basketball, he'll be great. It's like, okay, that's cool. And then Reed Shepherd shot like 79% from three in college. And I was like, what are we doing here? Like, I don't know. I'm going to end up looking stupid. Like, Sarr is obviously really toolsy and stuff. And like, I'm not saying he can't be good. And this leads me to the second point, because people are getting their memes off about Sarr. And like, I wanted to add that context about me not thinking he should go number one to sort of illuminate this point even further. I think that it's getting way blown out of proportion. Summer League is meant to shine a light on players like Reed Shepherd, players who can do stuff with the ball in their hands. It's always going to make those guys look better than not better than they are, but it's always going to amplify their potential impact and like get people excited about them. Whereas someone like Sarr, who is toolsy, he can guard multiple, like that shit isn't going to get people excited. So I feel like his impact was always going to be suppressed in Summer League. And if I was a Wizards fan, I would just try to be patient. And I don't think they should have taken. They already have Koulibaly, by the way. Why didn't they want to pair Shepherd with Koulibaly? That would have been so good.
I think so, like just based on how
French fetish.
I think just how they drafted, they seem to be like prioritizing physical tools like length. So they drafted Koulibaly, they drafted Sarr, they drafted Bub Carrington, who's another like he's a big guard. Like that seems to be what they're trying to build, which is fine. I don't know enough about the draft at all to say anything comfortably. I agree with you. What I've seen of Reed Shepherd, I'm like, what? But Sarr, like, look, they didn't draft him for offense, which if that's like I get it. I get that. To your point, like, I don't know why you don't think it matters that he is very, very, very raw, like offensively. But the thing that just is bizarre to me is he shot like what, like. He was 1 of 21 in the last 2 games, and I think he's one of like fucking 13 or something or 1 of 15 from inside the arc, which like I don't know, man. When you're 7-1, that part is concerning to me because I'm just like Summer League. Look, if you struggle, you struggle. Not that big of a deal, but if you're that big, I expect you to do something inside the arc, and to do nothing in the last 2 games is concerning. He did have a good first game, so that shouldn't get tossed out either. I agree with you. I wouldn't be like overly, I wouldn't be like, oh my God, he's a bust based on Summer League, but
he's not 7 foot Killian Hayes.
I mean, they also presumably, I would hope their plan is that they don't want to be good this year. And I think if their plan was not to be good this year, then if you believe in your ability to develop somebody like Alex Sarr, then sure, it's worth the pick. And you're like, cool. In a year when he's playing with Cooper Flag, none of you guys are going to give a shit about this. And, if they're right about that, then cool. Well, they'll be right about it, and that'll be that. But yeah, I mean, I probably would have just taken Reed Shepherd based on the fact that literally like every advanced metric basically was screaming this guy is the best prospect in the draft. He struggled a little bit last night against Minnesota, but even in that game, I thought he showed a lot of really good signs. So
passing.
Yeah, I think Houston probably got a great value there, if nothing else. But that doesn't mean
you think they'll trade Jalen Green.
Oh,
you guys
for
think
sure.
Yeah.
Sam hates Jalen Green.
I don't really like inefficient shot chuckers, especially guys that get overhyped the way he does. And Gilbert Arenas did him no favors, including him in talks about the Knicks over the past couple of years. So
the going back to just like pre-draft stuff, I remember pre-draft the debate was like, well, Evan Mobley could be like this, he might be like Kevin Garnett. That was like the hype, right? Like, if he reaches his 99%, he could be Kevin Garnett. And then the hype for Jalen Green was like, dude, this guy could be like Zach LaVine. That was like a comparison with around. And I'm like, I think I would probably go with the Kevin Garnett guy. Like, I don't know. That's just
Kevin Garnett or Zach LaVine. I don't know. Tough decision there.
I don't remember the lower picks in that draft. Would Mobley still go number 1 in a redraft, or is there someone lower that would go ahead of him? Is Franz in that draft?
Barnes and Franz are in that draft.
Okay, so Mobley would go 3 probably. Maybe even behind Cade. Cade's pretty sweet.
Cade's 1. I mean, I think there's like those probably would be the top 4 guys in whatever order you prefer them. But like the fucking, I never got the Jalen Green thing, especially just like, so I heard the Zach LaVine comp, and I remember just like seeing him physically, and I'm like, this guy doesn't look like he could ever play the 3. Like he looks like just a 1-2 at most.
Yep.
And then it was like, well, he's not much of a passer yet. And I was like, oh, give me the hard sell here, huh? Like this guy can be Zach LaVine, and he definitely can't play the 3. Also, isn't going to pass too much. I'm like, wow, where can I sign up for this fucking guy?
Where do I sign?
Yeah, wow. Number 2 overall, apparently. Yeah, I mean, look, I think he's they've drafted. They just have too many guys that are better than him at those spots. Like even like it's weird. Jabari Smith had that thing this year, right, where he was at the finals and he asked Jason Tatum. Was it Jason Tatum he asked about like, what would you tell like a second year or whatever it was? I don't remember the exact wording of the question, but it was like, did he call himself a bust? Is that what he said? I forgot what the question was.
He didn't call himself a bust, but he was like someone that he called himself like someone that didn't live up to expectations.
Yeah.
And
dude,
like, Jabari Smith is awesome. Like
I think he's gonna be really good. Like,
yeah, dude. But like to your point, to go with the point you're trying to make here, he played Summer League last year, and they were like, "Why are you playing Summer League as a second-year player?" And he was like, "I sucked as a rookie. Why wouldn't I play Summer League?" Guys with that level of self-awareness and humility, and guys who know they need to work, he's gonna get whatever he has, like in his bag. He's gonna get. I don't know what is in his bag, but whatever he is capable of, I believe Jabari Smith is going to get it. Dude, well, I root for that guy.
Well, he's like, I'm like, all right, at worst, he seems like a pretty switchable wing defender who can probably shoot credibly. And like, I'm like, that seems maybe that's not, I mean, like you want more than that from the third overall pick when you're drafting the third overall pick. We all know that very acutely. And like, if that's like what he is, that's not horrible. Like it's just not what you ideally want from a third overall pick. Doesn't make him a bad player, but yeah, I think he'll be a solid pro. Whereas I don't know if Jalen Green's going to be like he's like I imagine Jabari Smith at some point finding his way onto a playoff. It could be in Houston, it could be somewhere else roster and being a quality starter. Jalen Green, I know he had that like a nice month last year. I'm pretty like, I don't know. I just don't. I'm not really with like guys where to Sam's point, not super efficient, and terrible defensively, and doesn't give you much value aside from his scoring. Like the path to success with that is basically you have to be like Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson was actually a good defender at his prime. So
right, he needs to be like better than Levine at this point. That's the thing. That's the thing people don't understand. XJ talked about this on the last episode of Hot Hand Theory. Look at league average offensive rating, the leap just in the last 10 seasons. Like what Zach LaVine was in his quote unquote prime, like if he's not in his prime anymore, that was good enough 5 years ago to be the offensive player on it. It's not anymore. You need to be better. If you're just Zach LaVine, and I don't mean that as a dismissive comment or like shade towards Zach LaVine. He was a really good player. Sucks he got hurt a bunch because he was a ton of fun to watch. But if you're Zach LaVine, you can't be the primary guy anymore. Offenses are too good. League average offensive rating is like 116 or something. You just can't be that. So like Jalen Green, I agree with exactly what you said, Schwinn. He had a fun month. What extrapolate that out, project forward. How can he be the best offensive player on a team? How can you build that around him unless he makes a gigantic leap? He has to make a gigantic leap to be a tenable player on a team that's actually trying to win.
Yep. There's actually an interesting comment here. I want to pull up this from Jordan Bubb. TNT will have approximately 5 days until next Monday to match either Amazon Prime Video's $1.8 billion per year offer or NBC's $2.5 billion per year bid per at M. McCarthy Rev. My sources tell me TNT is far more likely to match Prime's offer than NBC's. He asked, does the panel think TNT will match the Amazon Prime offer? I mean, I think they should, but I have no idea if they will or not. And I'm sure David Zaslav will do the smart thing. He's a real smart guy. Just ask him.
Oh yeah, for sure. Definitely made so many great decisions once he acquired HBO Max.
Yeah, HBO is doing the Max app is just fantastic. So good. Oh, wow.
Wonderful viewing experience. Love it.
I fucking hate navigating Max. It's so bad.
What an absolute bozo. This guy acquired probably the best streaming service and fucking ran it into the ground within like a year.
Well, you just turned it like a premium product and you look at the stuff they're putting out and you're like, Jesus, man. Like, you're getting these like shitty, like 3-part docuseries they're putting out. I'm like, what are you doing?
Sam, you know what show you
have a clue.
Sam, you ever watch the show Chuck?
No, I don't think so.
It's on Max. You would like it.
What's it about?
I'm very confident. So it's like an action comedy about a guy who works at like a Best Buy like store and he gets sent these government secrets and basically it becomes a government asset, but it's like a comedy too.
Interesting. This sounds interesting.
Yeah, it's got like good pop culture references. It's really good. It's one of my favorite shows of all time.
Nice.
It's no Sopranos. I won't go that far. I wouldn't upset you.
I haven't watched Chuck. I heard it's really good though.
Yeah, it's really good. I had Stacy watch it, and Stacy blows up my DMs all the time with Chuck references. So,
well, as long as he's blowing up with Chuck references and not stupid dad jokes, that's a
dude, Twin. My favorite thing. I listen to you and Stacy's show every single week, and like Stacy goes for a joke every single time one's open, and he gets you like once an episode. But he's like 1 for 12. The other 11 times he'll make a bit reference, and you'll just be like, yeah, and then just keep going with what you were saying.
It's look, he's Dion Waiters has a rival.
Dude, he balances you out so well. It's honestly, you honestly both your shows, both with Prez, you guys do such a great job.
Thank you, appreciate that. This is from Ace Bouchard. The Wolves are really weird because they don't have a ton of avenues for offense inside of Cat and Chuck Anthony Edwards. Yeah, Anthony Edwards is funny, but people, you can't have a real conversation about Anthony Edwards because people are just so like, I get it. Yeah, people love him and I get it, but it's like, dude, I saw something, I forgot who was, I was listening to something the other day. They're like, man, his passing's come along so far. And I'm like, I mean, it's come along, but acting like he's, diming guys up in the corner for threes constantly. And like, it's like, and honestly, the guy kind of feel bad for him because I'd rather have him fucking run the offense half the time than like 38-year-old Mike Conley and who can't like get separation in the playoffs. And I mean, that's why, like, ultimately this is why they went and took a big risk on getting Rob Dillingham. Is they're hoping that he can give them that additional creation that they need. But
him and Terrence Shannon.
Yeah. I mean, and look, the Cat thing is always funny to me because this is the hardest thing with all these players. Like, you're presumably paying Anthony Edwards and Cat in large part because they're great offensive players, and I don't think that's wrong. But if they're great offensive players and your offense isn't great, then it's telling you something. Like you're missing something, and those guys are not being optimized. And how you optimize them, you need a point guard. I don't think Mike Conley is the point guard for that. I think asking Rob Dillingham to do that from day one in the NBA, he didn't even play point guard in college, right? Like him and it was like I didn't watch, but that was my understanding.
Cal does that weird thing where he has like the guards like playing like combo off of each other.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like quickly and Maxey did.
Yeah. And I don't know. Asking him to come in and be like, it's one thing to be like, hey, we want him to be point guard for like the fucking Pistons versus, hey, we're trying to win the finals. Yeah. We think we can win the finals. Please help us. That's and he's 19, right? Dillingham? He's like,
yeah. Do we think this is like a overcorrection of the Derek Lively like impact stuff?
I just think they had to find they don't have avenues.
Way.
Yeah, they don't have avenues to find a high level point guard without trading pieces that they clearly value on their roster right now. So for them to do it, this was the way to do it, is to move up in the draft for somebody they like and giving out a future first unprotected and a swap unprotected. I understand the risk. I totally respect it. And I think like it, I mean, I respect it because I think a lot of teams they wouldn't have the kind of balls really to make that bet, but it only matters if they're right. If they're wrong, then it's a pretty bad fucking move. And that's the position they're in.
Schwing, can I try to pitch you on Dillingham with what I think?
Oh, go for it. I mean, I don't dislike Dillingham, to be clear. I just think it's asking a lot of him. And he's also 165 pounds on day one. And
so I see him as like a Bones Highland type, which doesn't sound great off the bat. But here's
way to sell someone on the pitch.
Hold on. Here's the pitch I have. He has like a Bones Highland like initiation / creation bag. But what he does that Bones doesn't do, a couple things. One, he is a much better processor. I like his decision making much better when he's like running pick and roll and gets inside the paint. Number two, this is huge. He shot 44% from three in college. And like Sam just said, he played in a system where he wasn't just like primary creator doing everything with the ball in his hands. He was playing off of Reed Shepherd. So when you bring Dillingham in and he's this level of shooter and he's this level of decision maker relative to other rookies of his ilk, he's not just going to be like a six-man, I can only score. He's going to fit into the offense off of Anthony Edwards. Like, there are people who are picturing him and they're like, okay, he's going to come in and he's going to spell the offense when Edwards is out. But I see a world where he can actually play with Anthony Edwards, especially when Edwards is playing the type of defense he did last year. Him and Edwards can, Dillingham can run some, Edwards can run some, and Dillingham can play off of him. He's a really good shooter. He's a really good decision maker. I actually really liked the pick by him. I'm not as well versed in what they sacrificed, so I'm not saying it's definitely a good decision by them in terms of all the assets they gave up. But just from a player perspective, I really like the fit for them and what he brings for them, because the comment, Ace Bouchard's comment here about how they don't really have a ton of offense, this was their chance to raise their ceiling offensively without sacrificing defense or any of their players. So they keep, McDaniels, they keep the shooting of Towns, they keep Gobert. Obviously, they're going to have Edwards for as long as they can have Edwards. And so, I don't know. I really like the pick. Of course, I maybe overvalue shooting if that's possible, but the 44% from three in an offense where he wasn't only shooting off the bounce, where he was shooting off the catch too, that's really, really important to me.
Yeah, I like I said, I like the general idea of what he is. Just it's a big bet. It's a big bet on a guy to come in and help you win a championship, which is effectively like the Knicks. It's like you're not being judged on anything else, right? It's like, does this guy come in and help us further our ability to win titles? And that's a lot to ask of him, and it's a big bet they made on him. If it works, nobody will give a shit what they paid to get him.
Yeah. The West is also really interesting, not to, drag this out even further, but, the Wolves and Mavericks made the Western Conference Finals last year. I would argue both teams, assuming their rosters stay what they are now, got better. Dude, they're not locks to win a playoff series. Both teams could just lose in the first round. The West is nuts.
Yeah. The West is crazy.
West has like legitimately, I would say maybe 11, 12 possibly good teams.
Yeah, I'm with you, Sam. I would argue that the only teams really not trying, really not even in the mix next year are the Jazz and the Blazers. Like, even the Spurs, I think, will be not
More
playoff teams,
respectable.
but more respectable. Yeah, Vassell, Chris Paul, Wemby, obviously. I think there's 12, 13 teams that are going to be tough outs every night in the regular season. That's going to be a fucking grind next year.
Yeah, Houston's good too.
Yeah, Houston had that 11-game win streak at the end of last year that almost got them into the play-in. But yeah, we have this comment here from Aldi. Aldi,
yeah, bring it up.
Joka, and then we can get into the Milwaukee comment too. He says, so like, what are the odds Thibs goes 10-man for like the first quarter, first third of the season? And then he also asks, perhaps Leon strongly suggest to help the trade market.
I would put this at very, very slim. I don't think Leon is going to.
You would put this at the odds of the parlays that I usually place.
Yes, I like last year. We started the season off, and you could have made a legitimate argument to throw Deuce. Like, I just don't see how you're getting 10 deep. Like, I don't think he wants to do it. I don't think it's very productive. And he just has never operated like that. Like, the last time we went 10 deep was his first year. And that was purely based on the fact that he decided he had to have Elfrid Payton start games. But like, since then he's preferred to go have a 9-man rotation for the better part of like 3 seasons now. And if he's going to go with a 10-man rotation, it's just not going to be because of Kolek or campaign. Like, it would have to be a higher caliber player. I mean, if you game out the roster right now, even with let's just assume they bring Precious back, right? Even with that, like, you get into it and it's hard to see where how many minutes is Deuce getting? And that's your 9th guy. And like to add a 10th guy to that mix is just it's not feasible. Like you don't go get OG and pay him. You don't trade what they gave up to get Bridges and like not play those guys heavy minutes. We know Randall's going to play a lot of minutes. We know Brunson's going to play a lot of minutes. We know Josh Hart's going to play a lot of minutes. We know Dante's going to play a lot of minutes. Like that's guys right there. And then
I'll be honest, man. I don't know that. I think Dante.
It might not be as many
I
minutes as you want. But I'm saying
I think Dante's not going to play enough.
But he's still going to play. Like he's going to get at least 18 minutes a game. That's just going to happen.
He's going to play 18. That would be ridiculous to me.
It is ridiculous.
I think we're going to get to a point where the Knicks fans are talking about a block like last season. Remember, we literally did this last season.
Right.
Oh, the depth is so good. We have all this carryover. The depth is so good. And then 2 months into the season, oh my God, we have too many good players. We need to free up space. Like
that's my point. That's why it's just not going to happen. There's no way he's going to go to a 10-man rotation. Like it will not happen. And if anything, I would say if the argument is to like help with the trade market, I would probably guess that would do more to hurt players' value than help players' value, because like your best players just need to play the minutes, and I would have a tough time being like, well, we got to take some minutes from any of those guys to get Kolek in, or it's asking way too much. I don't see it. And
do you see a world where not spot minutes, but actual nightly rotation minutes are spent without a true center to free up minutes? Or do you think that's not going to happen? What do you think about that?
I'm going to say yes. I don't remember if it was, I think it might've been Katz. Don't quote me on this. I think Katz said that he had like that Tibbs was open to like with OG there and Bridges there, like to having Randall. And the reason they didn't do it enough last year was, with some of the injury stuff, and they didn't get a chance because they only had a month together. I think that on the surface, you'd be like, that's bullshit. And I am not fully sold on that either. But the reason why I kind of believe it is Katz also reported last summer when a lot of people were like, that's ridiculous. Tibbs wouldn't do that. But he was like, Tibbs is fine with like using Josh Hart at the 4. Like he'll do that. That's not a big problem for him. And I'm not saying that these are even, they're not the same situations, but if Katz put that out there, and there's no reason for him to put that out there. Like that doesn't need to be, he has no skin in the game. There's no value for him to just throw it out there. I would imagine he's heard that somewhere. And yeah, look, it to me, it's still very much like, I'll believe it when I see it, but Tibbs has shown more willingness to do things that I didn't think he would do in the last couple of years. So if he does that, would it surprise me? Yes. Would it be like insane? Not really, because I think we all agree, like, yeah, man, you actually have the roster to do that. So you should probably try to do it. And I still think like his biggest hang up is Randall. It defensively. I don't think it actually has to do with like if Randall, I mean, this is obviously an insane comparison because there are not many players who can play defensively as well. But like if Randall was like Draymond on defense, I don't think he would be that against, like, he wouldn't be like, no, I can't have it. Can't use him at the 5. Like he would definitely use him at the 5 then. But Randall is, let's just say he's not quite Draymond on defense. And that for Tibbs is, I think that very specifically is the part that he struggles with the most in terms of trusting him. And I know there's like, Benji's talked about this where it's like, well, what if you think about it as OG at the 5? We can talk about whoever you want it to be at the 5. The idea is like Randall being one of your 4, one of those big guys, the front court guys, is the hang up. And we know Tibbs values rim protection and blah, 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 blah. But we'll see. I mean, we're not going to know until fucking mid-October. So no point in worrying about it right now.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good question.
What's the question?
All right, Shwin, you had pulled up a comment earlier. Did you want to?
Oh yeah, I can bring it up. This is from Jordan Bub. Any thoughts on Milwaukee Bucks moves? They had a really good offseason for what they were capable of offering. Do I care very much about it? Like, no, because I think what their season's going to come down to is Middleton's ankle shot, and is Dame not? If Dame continues to play like a loser, getting Gary Trent Jr., which is an objectively solid upgrade over Malik Beasley, is kind of small potatoes compared to that stuff. Those are the things that matter the most. If those things are legit good, then the Gary Trent thing and getting Dylan Wright and like those things can matter then, but they don't matter without answering those questions. So I guess I would say they had a good offseason relative to what they could have offered, but I don't know how to like it. To me, it'd be like if the Knicks traded for Mikal Bridges the way they did, but like Jalen Brunson had a terrible season last year, I would be like, yeah, that's cool that we got Mikal Bridges, but this kind of doesn't matter if Brunson just fucking sucks. Yeah. And I know Dame's numbers look okay. I thought he was, and look, Jeff's podcast partner XJ has mentioned to me and has tweeted several times about how good the starting lineup was last year, and I just got to say, sometimes I just will not believe the numbers, and I will never believe the numbers about that Bucks team. That starting lineup.
It's really funny that you say that, Twin, because like I feel the same way every time I watch the Bucks. It was like they were like the healthy Bucks. It was like they were losing at home to Charlotte or something. Like they were like. There was never anything impressive happening by that unit ever. And then you look at this lineup data, and the five-player lineup data is insane. It was like the Lillard, Beasley, Middleton, Giannis, Lopez lineup. It was like plus 15 per 100 over a huge sample.
Yeah, and I was just like, something's wrong with those numbers. I don't care. That was it. That was I was like, I just can't buy this. I can't buy it. And it's probably comes down to like, in a game, how many minutes is your starting five actually playing together, right? It's like, what, let's say 15 minutes? Like, so they could have 4 of those guys out there, then the 5th guy is fucking everything up. And it's like, but yeah, there's like 30 of those, there's like 33 of those minutes every game. So if they're like, that's, to me, it's their bench is still, Dylan Wright is nice for what they had to offer, but like, there's a reason this guy's been bouncing around the league, because there's just serious flaws in his game. And, you know, I'm sure like there's things he does well, but I don't know. The Bucks are weird to me. I kind of don't buy them. And I also, as far as like contention, I'm just like, dude, Doc Rivers is your coach. I'm sorry. Like, it's just that simple to me. Doc Rivers is not doing it for me.
I will say, I think Trent is a better facsimile of what they wanted from Beasley.
Oh yeah.
For sure.
No question.
I think he'll fit in nicely. Their depth is just like, what the fuck do they have behind their starting lineup? They've got their starting 5 and Bobby Portis. That's it.
Yeah.
Big Bobby.
And Planet Pat Connaughton.
Oh, yeah. Connaughton, maybe he'll have a bounce back here. He had a terrible year last season. Chris Bernard asked, do y'all think Randle is playing out the year with no extension, or is he signed after August 2nd? This is the $1 million question for the Knicks. This is actually like, once they did the Bridges trade, obviously the Hartenstein thing worked out the way it did, but this was always going to be like the biggest inflection point for them that they had control over to some degree. Like, the Hartenstein thing was not under their control, obviously. Randle, I mean, I guess in some ways it's not under his control, but they can presumably offer him a max extension. I don't know if they will. I don't know if they have. I don't know what those conversations are. Nobody does, because there's been no reporting on it other than Begley saying that. I don't know. Begley's report was, he answered a question in a mailbag and he got to a lot of the stuff. He didn't really seem to indicate one or the other. He did say earlier in the offseason he thought that a deal wouldn't get done. If he doesn't sign an extension, I kind of think he's getting traded at some point. That's what I think. I don't think I do not think they want to play out the year of uncertainty with him, go into the playoffs, and then it's like, you know, if he plays like shit in the playoffs, sure, maybe you can get him on a better contract than you can. But like, it's just a weird thing. I don't know. If he doesn't extend, I think that he'll be moved at some point.
Can I ask both you and Sam, instead of do you think he will, what do you guys want to happen as Knicks fans? Like, what do you think is best for the Knicks? Do you think it would be best if he extended, or what do you think is the best outcome for the Knicks?
Man.
Sorry.
Oh man, this is such a tough question because
because you love Julius.
Love is a very strong word. Because I mean, everyone knows we got started on the post game trashing Randle a bunch during that 21-22 season. Like that was brutal. And then we had, his resurgence, and then he got hurt right before the playoffs. So, and here I am defending him against idiots on Twitter that want to trade him for a bag of peanuts. And it's all right, we're not doing that, but I honestly don't know because we still haven't seen what this team truly looks like with all its pieces playing for a reasonable amount of time together. That January stretch of Knicks basketball was some of the best Knicks basketball I've ever seen. And we only got that for 14 games or so.
Something like that. I don't know.
It's we got such a little glimpse of it. I just want to see a little bit more of it before I truly can make a decision. So I would at least like to see at least the first half of the season play out.
Shout out Jaime Jaquez.
I think we're gonna look back at that. If the Knicks, of course, we're not gonna have any regrets if they just put it together this season, fucking win a championship. But if there's a fork in the road moment where the Knicks have to go a different way, if there's any moment where we have to look back and regret, or at a moment where the Knicks' chance kind of was tarnished, I think the Knicks not getting a chance to see what Julius Randle looked like with this team in the playoffs is the moment, because I think they would have had a lot more information to operate with this summer if they saw what Julius Randle looked like in the playoffs with OG Anunoby and Dante DiVincenzo playing the way he was, and Jalen Brunson. And obviously, they lost to a worse team in the playoffs because they were injured. And I don't mean that as disrespect to the Pacers. I have a lot of respect for the team. I think they're good. But I think the Knicks were clearly a better team. And I think the Knicks would have won if OG and forget Randle being healthy.
Yeah,
if OG's just healthy, they win. And I think that we would have gotten a greater sample of information if Randle never got hurt. And they could have really contended and pushed Boston. And so, yeah, I think if they play out this season, it doesn't go well and the mesh isn't great, and they realize oh shit, we got to trade Randle way too late, or we don't want to keep him around. We don't want to extend him, and we're going to lose him for nothing. I think that's the real turning point, is not getting that extra information. That'd be fucking brutal.
Yeah. I guess to answer this question, what I would like to see is they extend him, and then he plays really well in the playoffs, and we're all happy together forever. But if I'm running the Knicks and I don't have any positive information about Randle in the playoffs, my information about Randle in the playoffs, and I understand the mitigating circumstances that exist, is that it has not been good. And there are things about the way he plays which lead to some of those struggles. Now, to your point, would that have changed if he had played with OG and Dante? Yeah, it might have. I thought that was his best opportunity. I thought he was playing the best ball of his career, quite frankly, in that month before he got hurt, which makes it suck even more.
Before he was murdered.
Yeah. But if I have to make the bet, and it's so without any information of Randle with this team in the playoffs, and on top of it, I think there are real concerns, very specifically, of Randle with Mitch, and Mitch in separately on his own. There are concerns given his health status, and I just feel if I am Leon Rose, I think I want to move forward without that uncertainty. And if it was me, gun to my head, I don't know what offers are on the table. I don't know how they can work things, but I think this is probably the time where if he doesn't take the contract that you're willing to offer him, that you should move him. It's like this is, but like if if the offers out there are like, hey, we can give you like Ben Simmons expiring contract and one of your picks back, I don't know. That's probably not a very appealing offer to the Knicks. Be like, okay, well, fuck you. Like, not going to do that. So I don't. It's all contingent on all these variables that we don't have access to. We'll only really be able to judge this when whatever happens. So, like, if they extend him, okay, then we'll be able to judge how that works out in the long run. If they don't extend him, then we'll see what they do. Do they let him play out the year? Maybe. Do they trade him this offseason for somebody that is locked in on a contract that they like, that they feel they're comfortable moving forward with? Sure. Then we can judge them on what they got for Randle in that trade and how that works out. But like, I just think it's again, I don't really want to cop out on this. So I guess like my gun to my head answer would be like trade him, but it's just so contingent on things that I don't have any real basis for. And I do not envy the position the Knicks are in for that reason, or not the Knicks are in, but especially Leon Rose is in terms of making this decision, because it's easy to just be like yes or no or whatever, but it's not that straightforward, and it's complicated because it has trickle down effects on a variety of other things.
One really good point you've made all along the way, Schwen, on your pods when you've talked about this, and I feel like you've done a really good job of covering it in a way that, there's no, oh, fuck Randle, like it's just been like, here's what I think about the situation. Randle was a Knick before Leon was the GM. So, like, as much as Randle should be celebrated as, like, a part of this turnaround for the franchise, Leon doesn't have that bias of, oh, I signed him, this is my guy. Like, you've said that multiple times, and I think that's such a good point, because that's not to say that Leon's gonna just dump Randle for nothing. But what the relevance of that, in my opinion, is that I think that Leon has earned Knicks fans' trust. And if he has to make a hard decision about a player, we can trust that there's nothing in his way that could block him from making that decision, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, I know that there's been stuff about like James Dolan really likes Randle or whatever, but like, I don't know. I don't have any reason to believe right now, based on the last good amount of years, that James Dolan is actively interfering in anything related to basketball operations. And certainly I would hope he's not interfering right now, because he's actually hired a competent executive for the first time in his entire time as owner of the New York Knicks. But yeah, it's really hard. It's hard, and that's why Leon Rose presumably gets paid a lot of money, and we'll see what happens. But yeah, I mean, and I want to answer this. This is from WMQ. Let's assume Beggs is right. They don't rush it. Season plays out. Julius decides he's not a Nova Knick. Why can't we assume he works with us? Doesn't sign and trade. He's CIA. I don't think it's about he would not work with us, but in a sign and trade, he's still ultimately picking his destination.
Yep.
And then you would have to find a way to work with them to get something from them. And it's like you're losing.
It doesn't usually work out in your favor. I mean, look at Chicago with the sign and trade with the Kings. They ended up getting fucking Chris Duarte in some seconds. You don't always get, like, even though you're giving out like the
best piece,
the better player, you're not gonna guaranteed to get back much of a reward.
Sign and trades inherently, they're just inherently give the leverage, not even to the other team, more than it gives the leverage to Julius, because Julius can be like, well, I want X, and the Knicks are like, well, we'll give you Y, and he'll be like, well, this team will give me X, so that's where I want to go. And just the way this works now in the NBA is like, even if that team doesn't have cap space, it is almost like
they'll find a way.
Yeah,
the Spurs ended up getting a freaking, what did they get? Like a swap? A swap for taking on Harrison Barnes' contract.
That's because the Bulls are just run like fucking morons. It's because they used the non-tax pyramid level to sign what's his name? Jalen fucking Smith. and then that hard capped them at the first apron. So
Model organization.
Yeah, so then they couldn't take back the Barnes contract. So because they couldn't take back the Barnes contract, they had to pull in a third team. And because that third team is taking on the worst contract in the trade, they get the actual best return asset that Sacramento sent out. And Chicago got, like you said, Chris Duarte in a couple seconds. But yeah, it's.
But I mean, I trust the Knicks front office to at least get some sort of value in a sign and trade at the very least.
They'll get some. It's like
it's
right
never
now,
going to be equivalent to the player that you gave out.
Right, and now if you do it now, you have the majority of the leverage to some extent. Like he's still an expiring contract or whatever, and a team trading for him knows that they like when we traded for OG, right? Like once you trade for that player, you're gonna have to pay a lot to keep them because they have that kind of like, hey, you traded for me. I'll walk. I'll totally do it. Okay, fine. You gave me the number I wanted. Great. I'll sign here forever, and I always loved you. But yeah, I did want to. Chris Berner mentioned this. August 2nd is going to be a hell of a day for Knicks fans. I think we'll be getting an emergency pod one way or the other. I think the main thing is if they don't re-sign him. So if they sign him on August 6th or later, I don't know. I think it's either on August 6th or after August 6th, one of those two. He basically has a no trade clause for this season because he won't be trade eligible until after the trade deadline. What I think will be a tell is if that date passes and they have not agreed a contract, I think he gets traded because if they like, we'd be naive to think they've had no discussions about an extension so far. You'd be like, there's no way they don't have any information on, hey, this is what we'd offer you, Julius, and how open is Julius to that number or whatever they're doing. They definitely have an idea. Or if they offered him, let's say they offered him the max. I talked about this too. Like they offer him the max, and he'd be like, well, you gave OG 5 years, $212.5 million. So I think I should be worth X above that. And you can't give me that until next summer. So I'll wait until next summer. And then it's like, well, we don't think you're worth that, which is why we are offering you this max right now. Like we offered Jalen Brunson. We're like, we want to do that. And if there's no agreement there, like if that 6th passes and there's no agreement, nothing has been signed, I think he will get traded before the season starts because I just don't think they will. I don't believe they'll go into the season with him just being like, yeah, it's fine, dude. I want to be a Knick, but I just need to play out the season. Like, I think they'll be like, great.
Bruh, do we like really want to go into a year of volatile Randle?
Yeah, that's other contract year Randle. Not sure I want to live that one.
Oh, no. It would be like a mix of like what? 21, 22 Randle?
Nothing will be that. I don't think he'll ever. I don't know what was going on with him that year. That was crazy. That was just
me and Sam do. We were here every night.
Yeah. I just could not believe.
We tried to diagnose him, I think, a couple nights on the streams.
Dude, we were playing like fucking armchair psychologist every game on the stream for God.
There was one time I remember watching it. I was like, I don't know, dude. Looks like I straight up was like, he just looks like he's like all disheveled. Maybe he just needs a haircut to feel good about himself or something. Like he was a crazy. He had that thing at the end of the year when we played Utah. I remember where he was like going after Gobert at the end of the game.
Oh yeah, that was insane.
Dude, that was nuts.
And Gobert was just like, "What are you doing? What's happening?"
Bro, even the players on the Knicks are like, "What the hell is going on?"
Yeah. Or wasn't there a game where we won, but Randle was mad. Randle was the Chicago game when Burks hit the corner three. Yeah, and Randle just walked off because he wasn't the one who hit the shot. Oh my god. Dude, the thing is,
that was so insane.
Yeah. And me and Sam were like, "What's going on?" And then Tyrese would pop in and be like, "You guys want Gumby to play? You want fucking Gumby to play?" And like, right.
and now Tyrese's whole thing is like, "Yeah, no,
I hate Randle.
Yeah, I hate Randle.
What's the bit there? What's he doing? Is he like?
I think his bit. It's not a bit. His like belief is part of the value of Randle was just like his contract was so cheap, where it was like, you just need him to play good and he's worth that contract and then some. But now it's like he's looking at a payday, obviously, and he's like, now you don't have that value anymore. And I don't think he's worth it anymore. That's his like main contention, I think. I don't know. You have to ask Tyrese, and he's not here with us right now, so can't do that.
He's busy hating on Tyler Kolek.
Is that his new thing? Oh yeah, that's right. That is his new thing.
Yeah, he was like, I don't want to see a minute of Tyler Kolek this season.
Yeah. Tyrese has got agendas, that's for sure.
Yeah, his
And who am I to
agenda's like
judge?
an agenda.
And who am I to judge anybody that has a lot of crazy agendas?
Hey, you had
I do
the
have-
mid-Cal Bridges agenda.
No, that never happened.
Bruh.
In
The
in
funniest
fairness,
thing is
that was
like,
always mostly like I just don't think he's like a second option. Like I don't get
yeah,
that.
yeah.
On this team,
Which
I'm
is
like, all
fair.
right, yeah, I can see it. We're not going to do the McAlbridges thing right now. We'll see. I'm pretty optimistic on what he can bring to the table, even though I have some reservations as well. There's still
has to
stuff
play
up in the air.
forward. He has to play small forward. Like he can't just Tibbs can't do the thing where him and Dante are just the shooting guards, and then Josh Hart is the one who plays multiple positions.
Yeah, unfortunately for Tibbs, nobody on this team is Quentin Grimes, so he's not going to be able to. He's not going to be able to just be like, I don't like you. Go sit on the bench. Like,
right. Yeah, no, that's such a good point too, though, because it's not even just about optimizing Bridges when he's on the court. It's about making sure he's on the court enough. If he only plays shooting guard, they're not going to play enough.
Neither
so,
of them will play enough.
Yeah. So it's about getting him on the court more, but then also getting the most out of Bridges is not playing him shooting guard like 90% of his minutes. You need to have him out there with two of Dante or Deuce or Brunson. You know, like you need it.
Is there any chance that we see all the Nova Knicks on the court together?
Yes,
playing
together.
They'll do it, and they'll all like jerk off, and Brino loses shit, and yada yada. Oh, on this day they beat Eastern Middle State.
This is so special. This is so special, Clyde. And Clyde will be like, I don't have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, Clyde will be like drunk, and yeah, it'll be great.
Just be like, Mike. Everybody has a plus minus. Anything.
I
only asked that just because you brought up like the whole like you guys brought up the whole like Thibs playing certain guys at certain positions only. So like if he sees these guys as only this position, will he play certain guys together? Because like if he sees Mikal and Dante as just shooting guards or whatever it may be, like would he play?
I would say I have a hard time believing I think to the point of like what Jeff said earlier about Dante, I don't think he'll see Mikal as a one position player, but I do think he will see Dante. It's definitely conceivable. He's just like, well, Dante's just a two guard, so like that's just what it is on this.
Even though he was super versatile last year.
Yeah, and I will say though the fun thing will be if Tibbs just like nails everything and coaches his ass off. We can start running like actually Johnny Bryant was holding Tibbs back. All along, Johnny Bryant was the one that was holding Tibbs back from.
Johnny Bryant was sabotaging us for his good friend Donovan Mitchell.
I think on this team though, when you have OG, Bridges, Randle, Josh Hart, it's okay to view Dante as just a shooting guard. You just can't play. You just can't play Josh Hart at shooting guard, dude. If they have lineups out there with Brunson and then two of OG Randle Bridges and Josh Hart and a center, I'm going to lose my fucking mind. I'm going to fucking lose.
Get ready.
Yeah, get ready to lose
Get ready
mind.
to learn. Get ready to learn losing my mind.
Yeah, I mean, I will. Like, I think it's not even that to me. It's just like the experimentations have to work like all the way. Like, it can't just be like, this is the one thing I will experiment with everything. And then I can live with some stuff that I might not like. That's always been like I don't care. Like if you experiment with shit I don't like, fine. If there's some counterbalance of like, well, I'm gonna experiment with other options I have too. Like that's always been a thing. And I look, if you wanted to throw the size thing out previously, like I think while I don't necessarily agree with it, I can understand that. If that's like just his philosophy, that just doesn't apply anymore with this team. Like they have size across the board. And so like that just doesn't apply. So if that continues to happen, then obviously that's a separate conversation that needs to happen and we'll see where that goes. But again, I personally am not losing my mind over this right now because I don't need to. The Knicks don't play serious basketball until mid-October. Yeah, preseason doesn't count. That's not serious basketball. Even though Tibbs will sometimes treat it like
he will coach it like it is.
It's serious basketball for the three of us because we'll play Detroit and it'll be like Knicks minus 3.5. And it's like, do you guys not know Tibbs? Like, what is fucking happening right now? I will be in there.
Yeah, we'll be winning. I don't know if you know this, but Randle's playing 44 minutes tonight. I just got to get his legs under him. It's like, oh, all right. It'll be a good Tibbs year. I'm sure we'll have a lot of fun.
And I'm sure he'll have fun. This will probably be the most talented roster he's had since ever.
I think it's the best
Ever?
roster
It's
he's ever had.
the best team he's ever had for sure.
I think it's better than that first Bulls team he had. I think so.
For sure.
That first Bulls team was like a really good Tibbs team, and the league was a lot weaker.
Especially
So,
the East. East sucked.
The East was buns.
The East was literally them and Miami. That was the East.
Yeah, Boston was the end. So yeah, there was no one else.
It was like that 2010, 11, and 2011, 12 were they were basically just Bulls and Heat, and then the Bulls, Rose got hurt in the first round in 2011, 12, and they had that like glorified 7-game series against the Pacers, which
Against Philly.
No. In 2011, 12, the Heat played the Pacers in Eastern Conference Finals, and that was the George dunked on him, right? Or no, that was
you're saying the Heat played the Pacers.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about the Bulls.
No. Yeah, they lost in that. But yeah, like I don't know. To me, it's like, dude, that East just not even close to what this league.
The Celtics weren't good. Like they obviously were past what they were, but that LeBron game 6,
right,
just will always stand the test. That
was okay. So that's the year they beat Boston in 7 games in the Eastern Conference Finals, and then in 2012-13 and 2013-14, that's when they played the Pacers.
No, they played them. They played the Pacers in 12 too. They were down 2-1, and then LeBron and Wade had that crazy game 4 in Indiana, and they won in 6 in 2012.
Was that the Eastern Conference semifinals?
Eastern Conference semis.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so Miami played, if I recall correctly, they played the Magic in round 1 when Dwight Howard did the Stan Van Gundy thing, and then he got hurt, and they swept the Magic in round 1, and then Miami.
2011-12, they beat us in round 1 in 5 games. That was the Melo year. Yeah.
No, I'm saying Indiana beat the Magic.
Oh, Indiana.
And Miami beat the Knicks in round 1, and then Miami and Indiana played in the 2-3 matchup in round 2, and Indiana went up 2-1. Everybody was like, the Heat are fucked, break them up, trade Bosh, and LeBron and Wade had that crazy game 4, and then they played Boston in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Some of these game scores are ridiculous. I'm just looking at the series. Game 2, Pacers won Game 2 78-75.
Bro, what?
The Game 3, Pacers win 94-75. Miami wins Game 4 101-93. Then they win Game 5.
Look at what was LeBron's line in Game 4 is crazy, right? He had 40-18.
That was him and Bosh going absolutely nuts. Remember, Bosh missed that game.
No, him and Wade going nuts.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah, him and Wade.
He had 40-18-9, right?
Correct. And Wade had 39-6.
They went on like they scored like 40 straight points for the Heat. It was fucking nuts.
That was when Wade showed him how to win. That's what happened.
Yeah. I believe it, man. I believe like I think Luka's gotta not learn how to win, but he's gotta play more off the ball. I still think that, even after making the finals. I think that was a pretty fluky finals run.
I don't disagree, but I made money on it, so I don't care.
Let's go.
All right, we're good. Yeah, we're good. The Knicks have one more summer league game, right? And then we're done
tomorrow, 6 p.m.
It's tomorrow.
Ooh, who do we play?
The Hawks.
Wow, Eastern Conference. This is for revenge for 2021.
The Hawks are 0-4. Oh my god! And Ricochet got hurt, I think, so he won't even be playing.
Dude, what is that pick?
That was a pick.
Wasn't he? He was. I mean, look, I love Prez. But he's not infallible. But wasn't he number 8 on Prez's board? Like,
I think the NBA is like they're really into French people now.
They must be. The French Revolution, you said, is happening in Washington.
The French Revolution is happening in Washington and in the NBA. Like teams, they saw Wemby and they were just like, "All right, let's go French."
Hey, he can be fine. It's just like he's just another guy that the analysis is basically if he learns how to play basketball, and it's like weird to me. It's like You're drafting number 1 overall. Can we get a guy who already knows how to play basketball a little bit, please?
Their analysis was basically like he's tall and had shot well from 3, so therefore he's worth the number 1 pick.
He
I'm
might
like,
be good at basketball in the future.
it's very Marvin Williams. It's very it's giving
Oh,
Marvin.
wow, yeah.
That's that hits close to the heart. I love Marvin. He's responsible for the greatest Carolina moment of my life, of my lifetime.
Was he? Oh, he's on that championship team, right?
He had this putback against Duke in a crazy comeback game in the year they won the championship in 05, and it's the loudest I've ever heard the Dean Smith Center. If you watch the highlight on YouTube, it's crazy. Your screen will like shake. It's like, yeah, it's the loudest I've ever heard Carolina get. It was awesome.
Word.
But yeah, that was a weird pick. You don't pick him over Chris Paul. You don't do that.
Or Darren Williams, or
Yeah. Remember the Darren Williams Chris Paul debates? Those were fun.
I do remember those debates.
Sorry, Sam.
You always hated Chris Paul. I was on the wrong side of those.
I've always loved Chris Paul, so I guess I was on the right side.
You were on the right side, that's for sure.
Yeah, we're flashing back to when Sam was 7 years old.
Literally.
For real. All right, so
But
yeah,
don't
we'll
worry.
be back.
Oh, I'm sorry, Sam.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, even 7-year-old Sam hated Chris Paul at the time, so we're good.
7-year-old Sam barely knew what basketball was.
Oh.
I was like, I actually grew up watching more football growing up, so yeah.
Are you a Giants or a Jets fan, Sam?
Giants.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones to neighbors. That's the connection.
All right. Well, I think this is where we end things off because we're getting Daniel Jones talking. I do not want to talk about him. So yeah, we'll be back tomorrow after the Knicks play the Hawks Summer League team, Summer League finale. Maybe Dwayne Washington finally sits because he's shown the Knicks enough to know that they will not be bringing him onto the main squad this year.
Please.
So that's Schwinn's guy, Ohio State alum.
Yeah,
that's Schwinn's dude.
Yeah, it's just a fucking great example of what you get at Ohio State.
Well, yeah. Shout out to everyone that tuned in. Make sure you guys leave a like and subscribe. Follow us if you're watching on Twitter for the first time. And yeah, check out all the links in the description. We have links to the site, merch, Patreon, and Twitter. Everyone enjoy the rest of your Friday and Saturday. Peace.
Deuces.